I like to imagine my motivation on a scale. On the one hand, you have positive motivators, which really boost your drive to do something, but on the other hand, you have these negative motivators, which counteract this positive drive and balance it out so as you're not as motivated. So my goal right now is to not only show you different ways you can excite yourself into getting to work, but also to prevent yourself from having that friction, which often stops it. So with that picture in mind, let's get into it. And right off the bat, we start off with something extremely unintuitive. If you had to say, would you believe that a person who visualizes the positive future has a greater motivation in the long term, or someone who visualizes a negative future, the ways in which they can fail? Well, it turns out that the latter group, the people who negatively visualize their future, are much more likely to actually motivate themselves for the long term. Those who only anticipate positive outcomes actually don't really predict the obstacles that can come their way and do come their way. So when they're met with one, they actually break under the pressure. So what I do to counteract this is we practice negative visualization. So instead of just thinking, yes, everything's gonna go fine, it's all right, and then when you're met with an obstacle just failing, you instead think, okay, how can this go wrong? What things do I have to watch out for? For every positive visualization of the future, contrast this with at least 2 negative visualizations. For example, in the last video, I thought, wow, this is really easy. But then I immediately countered this with, well, tomorrow I could feel really tired because I didn't sleep through half the night. And I could be met with some challenges which I can't predict right now. And you know what happened? Both of these things happened like clockwork. As a result, I wasn't demotivated at all. I actually got to work knowing that it could have happened, and it did happen in that case, and I even felt a little bit grateful because something even worse could have happened, and it didn't. So that's all right. Now, if I hadn't done that, it would have been very demotivating because I would have thought, well, I'm not performing up to my expectations. It's not going as well as I believed it could have because yesterday I said, oh, wow, it's going so easy, but now it's not going easy anymore. Well, that's why we counter it. That's how we motivate ourselves. We become realistic with our expectations. So to summarize this point, if you want to achieve long-term motivation and not get stumped by one little problem that comes your way, you have to imagine all of the potential negative outcomes besides just the positive light ones. So that's point number 1. Now let's go to the second one. Okay, so this point takes issue with our belief in a lack of control. Because whenever we feel that we lack freedom to do something, we immediately get the sense that it's not worth our time. What we have to do instead is to observe every time that we're thinking, I have to do this, I must do this, I need to do this, I can't do that. And when that happens, we have to create a reinterpretation, a change in perspective for how we view our tasks. So for example, instead of thinking I have to wash the dishes, you think I want to wash the dishes because my partner has a lot of difficult work that they have to do and I want to make them happy. Another one, I must go to work. Instead of thinking that, you could consider, perhaps I want to go to work because I want to provide my family, my friends, the people around me with stability and a positive future. The goal is not to force yourself to do something, but rather to show yourself that this is actually what you consider the best choice, and that's why you did it. So that's the second point. The last 2 points are all well and good, but sometimes you feel that you just can't do something. It's impossible to do. So the last part we have to consider is to realize that we can do a lot more than we think. And how do we do that? Well, it's actually very simple. Let me show you. As we can see here, I'm using a little template which I'll add different uncertainties that I have and then try to fix them. I think that my first uncertainty that I'd put here is I can't make quick and interesting videos. For a very long time, I struggled with feeling, well, how do I do this? It's almost impossible. So how do I disprove this assumption? Well, just going off of my current knowledge, I'd say that, for example, 3 days ago, I made a video about creativity that I thought was pretty quick, and I also found it interesting. So saying that I can't do it is not really that correct. Does that mean that it won't be difficult to do it in the future? No, not at all. That's not the point. Motivation is not about making everything easy. It's about discovering that you can do something and that you're on your way towards doing it. So I think that in this case, I proved that to myself. Now, the second point is I can't bring true value to people through my videos. Can we disprove that in any way? Well, in my case, I do believe that I can disprove it because recently I found a channel, a YouTube channel called Rozwojowiec. It's in Polish, so it's not gonna help you much to look it up, but it creates valuable courses and videos that help people over the long term. That's how I describe it as. And when I looked at them and learned how they do research and learned how they create videos, I realized that it wasn't impossible for me to do. It was just a series of complex and repetitive steps that you have to go through to achieve that certain goal. So now, instead of thinking, I can't do this, it's impossible, I can think, well, there's nothing I can't do here. Rather, it takes a lot of research and effort, which I'm willing to do. So that is definitely something that increases my motivation. Now let's do one more point like this. In my case, the last thing that I believed I can't really do is create a platform for social change. For a very long time, I was very motivated by a lot of people which I heard did something really cool, like Martin Luther King, Gandhi, all these people. I really was inspired by them. But for a very long time, I thought, well, I can't myself do it. There is just not the environment for doing so. But then I heard about the story of Malala. What it displayed to me is that a simple desire and a little bit of discipline to achieving some goal, to wanting to do something, to want to arrive at some end, allows you to make direct and consistent steps towards it, like Malala had done through her foundation. And by seeing her own example, I realized that I can do it myself as well. So as you can see here, what I did was I first wrote out what I believed I couldn't do. I'll never achieve this, I'll never do that, I can't do this. And then what I did was try to disprove them through either my own examples or someone else's example whom I can relate to. By doing this, you can immediately show yourself, well, no, it's not impossible, it might be difficult, but difficulty didn't stop people. It's the feeling that you can't do something that does. All right, so that's the third point. The awesome thing about motivation is that it not only gives you some idea of what a beautiful future could be, but also gives you the ability to get there. So I hope that through these three tools, you'll find your own strength and your own ability to become more helpful, to become more free and capable. And so I wish you luck on your journey, and I'll see you on the other side.